Hi, I recently made a video called Why I Am No Longer a Leftist, where I discuss the little book Warum ich kein Linker mehr bin by Manfred Kleine-Hartlage, who in this book tries to trace his own development from a leftist to a rightist and give an analysis of the leftist mind. Why do people vote for left-wing parties? And I thought this was very interesting, particularly because of two of the traits that Manfred Kleine-Hartlage distinguishes in his book, which are fear and masochism. I've been thinking about this because these are traits that we normally associate with women and not so much with men. And it is a sad fact that many women in the West tend to vote for left-wing parties. Women are, in general, I think, less interested in politics than men are, and most of the members in political parties in, I think, all Western countries tend to be men. But in the party Die Linke, which just means the left, here in Germany, 37% of the members are women, which is a lot. It's a very high percentage. In AfD, which is the conservative party here in Germany, one of the conservative parties here in Germany, for example, the percentage is just 16%. AfD is a liberal conservative party, which is on to the right of the CDU, which calls itself a conservative party, I think, still, but is more of a social liberal party and has been for years, actually. The AfD is strongly critical towards mass immigration, and the question is, why do women tend to vote for left-wing parties? This, I think, is an interesting and important question. And another question is, has it always been this way? And the answer is no, which might be astonishing. When women acquired the right to vote about 100 years ago, here in Europe and also in the US, a lot of women voted actually for conservative parties of the time. And then it changed slowly. Like about 10 to 15 years after women acquired the vote, most European countries developed welfare states. And there is certainly a direct correlation between the female vote and the welfare state and the rise of social democracy. But now we will have to have a look at a few of the traits that I think are reasons for women voting for left-wing parties. This will be a controversial video, and it might upset a few persons. I am looking forward to your comments in the comment section, what you thought about this little discussion, and I'm looking forward to a good chat about this topic with you. So enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon again. 1. Lack of knowledge. Only 30% of the members of the German parliament are women. Of course, feminists would speak of discrimination against women here, but the truth is more simple. Most women are simply not interested in politics. One of the reasons why women tend to support left-wing parties is that they simply don't know anything about politics. In Sweden, there is a feminist party called Feminist Initiative, which tends to get around 3% of the votes. A lot of young women in Sweden vote for this party, but when asked what the party wants, many of them are unable to answer. They just vote for it because it has the word feminist in the name. It is astonishing and scary to learn how little many women know about society and history. My ex-girlfriend, for example, being in her late 30s, and having lived all her life here in Germany, had no idea what year World War II had started or ended. 2. Idealism. Many women are very idealist. They want to believe in the good in mankind. and they tend to be easily seduced by visions of utopian societies, whether religious, like the Christian paradise, New Age dreams of future golden cities, or political utopias, like the communist classless society, which is basically just a secular version of the Christian paradise. 3. Fear. Most women are extremely fearful, much more so than men, and they themselves realize. It's not just that most women cannot stand to watch horror movies. Many women are not even able to watch horror comedies without resulting insomnia. Their fear is also the reason why most mothers have difficulties in letting go of their grown-up children, often resulting in conflicts because the adult children feel repressed. Fearful persons wish for a strong protector, and consequently women vote for parties that promise them order by means of a strong state. Fearful people also abhor guns and violence. Many women are hostile to the military, which also leads them to vote for left-wing parties. 4. Laziness. Many women tend to be slack and to show little or no loyalty to the company where they work, surfing privately on the internet and making private phone calls on the company's phones for hours every day. Politically, this means that they are unable to appreciate the meritocracy of a liberal society, that competence and hard work are rewarded, and that laziness and incompetence are not. For this reason, many women support the demand for a minimum salary or even the same salary for everyone, which are classic leftist demands. 5. Sentimentality. Most women are incredibly sentimental. Richard Webster, a bestseller author from New Zealand, who ran a bookshop in the US for a couple of years, was astonished to find that most women who frequented his bookshop bought simple, cliched romance novels, although a lot of these women were highly educated, like architects and lawyers. In the political sphere, women tend always to sympathize with groups in society that they judge to be weak, like the poor, the handicapped, the old, women themselves, immigrants, homosexuals, and, on a national level, with developing countries. This tends to make them very partial and inflexible, preferring high taxes, accepting open discrimination of men through quotas, and closing their eyes, if at all they hear about it, to things like racism against people with fair skin in countries like South Africa. 6. Masochism. 2/3 of all women have masochistic inclinations, according to a Canadian study from 2014. That women tend to be masochistic is also confirmed by the massive success of the 50 Shades of Grey books and films among women. Masochists want to be dominated by an authority, and it is only natural that people with masochistic inclinations would prefer a strong state with a strong leader on top. Conclusion. Must these aspects, lack of knowledge, idealism, fear, laziness, sentimentality, and masochism, necessarily lead women to vote for left-wing parties? And what about men with these traits? The second question is easier to answer. Men who know next to nothing about politics and society, who are idealists, and who are fearful, lazy, sentimental, and masochistic, we usually call feminine, and feminine men tend to be leftists. They are vastly overrepresented in academia and in the media. But if we return to the first question, women are the way they are, and it makes no sense trying to re-educate them into becoming more like men. Indeed, we should not, since not just masculinity, but femininity too, are absolutely necessary for harmonious, happy relationships, stable families, and a healthy society. A femininity which makes women and more men believe in the utopian egalitarianism of the left is not a healthy femininity, but a perversion of femininity. It's a femininity which has lost its proper object of submission, which is not the state, but the man, as a lover and as a husband. Parents, teachers, and politicians should encourage and support a healthy masculinity in boys and a healthy femininity in girls, instead of trying to suppress them, which is the case today.